Hidden amongst the remote farmland on the Hague Peninsula just to the west of Fortress Cherbourg is a German fortification that history seems to have left behind. Neglected and overgrown, almost invisible to passers-by, is one of the most powerful gun batteries in Normandy, once housing some of the largest and rarest guns of the Second World War. These 63-foot-long behemoths that could lob a 270-pound shell out of their 38-foot-long barrels, up to a range of around 22 miles, duelled not only with advancing American forces, but warships that were sent to destroy them. Welcome to Strongpoint 356. The Germans had a propensity for building impressive war machines. Some withstood the test of time and actually formed the basis of some modern weaponry we still use to this day, like the V2 rockets. However, the siege-like weapons that were fitted to this site were not one of them, but more on those later. Welcome to Strongpoint 356 and its sister site WN354 that served as its barracks. Known also as E685, E standing for Eisenbahn or an English railway. It was a Heeres Küsten battery, or Army Coastal Battery, and was manned by the 1262nd Army Coastal Artillery Regiment. Construction on the site started in 1943, and several labour camps were set up in the surrounding area to provide workers to turn this peninsula west of Cherbourg into a hive of activity. So much so that the cape it sits on, Hague Cape, became known as Radar Peninsula because of its concentrated array of radars. Possibly for a couple of reasons. One, its proximity to England, and two, it was the most northwestern piece of French soil in comparison to the English Channel. Strangely, the Allied reconnaissance both overestimated and underestimated the strength of the battery. Firstly, they thought the railway guns were quite a bit larger than they were, and they missed the presence of the howitzers. It was protected by the usual complement of barbed wire, minefields and machine gun nests, including tobruks, but it also had two captured World War I vintage French 155mm howitzers, four 20mm Flak 30 anti-aircraft emplacements, but its real party trick I alluded to earlier were two Krupp 203mm railway guns. They fitted the German idea of bigger is always better, and could lob a shell over 20 miles, which meant that this battery could cover the gap between northern France and the Channel Island of Alderney. Very impressive, and if you did manage to hit your target, it would cause significant damage. But that is where the good points of this site end. If you discount the repurposed, obsolete French howitzers that lacked range, the railway guns didn't make it any better. The inherent downsides of such large pieces are their slow reloading times, at an estimated firing rate of 1 round every 2 minutes, in comparison to artillery field at the time that could rain down several shells a minute at a similar distance. They sapped not only materials and subsequently money, but manpower. Then factor in that they're extremely slow to manoeuvre, and the whole idea falls apart. They were placed on a single line of track below ground level to provide concealment and protection, with the centre portion covered to provide further protection when not being used. They would then be pushed out of their garage to opposite ends of the track, where two turntables were constructed. These would then provide a 360-degree field of fire. All of this done manually. So for all of the manpower and resources used up by this site, what did it actually achieve? Well, you could argue deterrence. The Allies never tried to navigate the gap it was placed to cover. But then again, their main effort was the other side of the Cotentin Peninsula in the Seine Bay, near the landing beaches. It did reportedly fire its guns in anger against American forces advancing towards Fortress Cherbourg, but the Allies simply responded by carpet bombing the site, causing significant damage. There was a mention of it firing against Task Group 129, a flotilla of 15 warships sent to bombard Blankenese Batterie that I covered in a previous video. And then the port of Cherbourg. But I'm not convinced this is plausible, given the gun's lack of range. This site does hold something interesting though. I've shown you different methods of camouflage like at Auderville or Krupp, but this has to be one of the most impressive that I've seen. Sources differ on what it might be, so please do add in the comments if you know. There are also a couple of other examples at this site, decreasing in complexity, until finally no camouflage is present at all. And something else that I found interesting and very un-Germanic indeed: poor quality building work and tolerances, fittings not level, post-construction fixes, etc. Just a speculation, but maybe its importance was surpassed by other nearby constructions, like the aforementioned radar stations that led to corners being cut. Either way, Strongpoint 356 was abandoned before it was cut off entirely on the push to Cherbourg. And thank you to one of my viewers for suggesting this site.